Ted, what the hell's going on with you?
Quite the opposite, my friend. I'm feeling quite holy.
But dude, we're supposed to be playing D&D, not living it.
Fine. Alright, so how do you feel about talking about cleric spells today?
Go to D&D Cleric Spells for 5e. Tier 2 it is then, my friend. Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Dave, and as usual, I'm joined by this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
Maybe it's your first time visiting Ted's Basement. It's a place where we like to discuss news, views, and homebrews for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Sometimes we even talk about other role-playing games.
So if you don't want to miss a single video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and attune to that notification bell.
So we're going to go back into our go-to spells for Cleric and go Tier 2, which means 3rd, 4th, and 5th level spells. And we're talking about character levels 5 through 10.
A lot of really great spells there. We offer up, 5 spells and 1 extra that we feel clerics really should be looking at, each broken down into a different category.
Alright, so we'll grab our handy-dandy devices and pull it up on D&D Beyond. So the first one is attack spells, Ted.
Alright, so I chose this one because this is one of my favorite spells that didn't really exist in other editions, and that is going to be Spirit Guardians.
Not only your favorite, I would have to say it is a favorite across many clerics. They're always using this spell.
So it is 3rd level, range is self, duration is 10 minutes with concentration. The attacker save is a wisdom save. Casting time is an action. It's got verbal, somatic, and material component. It is conjuration, and the damage is radiant. You call forth spirits to protect you. They flit around you to a distance of 15 feet for the duration. If you are good or neutral, the spectral forms appear angelic or fey, your choice. If you are evil, they appear fiendish. When you cast the spell, you can designate any number of creatures you can see to be unaffected by it. Careful if your rogue's going invisible here. An affected creature's speed is halved in the area, and when the creature enters the area for the first time on a turn, or starts its turn there, it has to make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes 3d8 radiant damage if you are good or neutral, or 3d8 necrotic damage if you are evil. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage. When you cast a spell using a spell slot of 4th or higher, the damage increases by 1d8 for each spell slot above 3rd. This is one of those cool things that if you've got this spell going and a creature uses more than half its movement to enter into it, they stop moving and take the damage because their speed becomes halved, and they've now used their speed or more than what they have. So it can be really useful if you're bouncing around people's movement range, and it can actually stop you from getting attacked if you use it wisely.
Yeah, it's definitely a great deterrent for keeping the enemies away from your cleric, for sure. Next up, we're going to go with a buff spell, 4th level, Freedom of Movement. It's 1 action to cast. It's a touch spell. It's a duration of an hour, no concentration. Abjuration is the school. You touch a willing creature for the duration. The target's movement is unaffected by difficult terrain, and spells and other magical effects can either reduce the target's speed or cause the target to be paralyzed or restrained. The target can also spend 5 foot of movement to automatically escape from non-magical restraints such as manacles or a creature that has grabbed it. Finally, being underwater imposes no penalties on the target's movement or attacks. This is a great buff spell in the sense that you can't be debuffed by pretty much any means when it comes to your movement. And I love spells that the caster doesn't have to concentrate on and is going to last a long time. This is a spell that could be useful for actually several combats. But speaking of buff spells, how about buffing your game with a whole campaign setting from our friends at the Deck of Many, the Humblewood campaign.
So this is their preview copy for their awesome book. If you are interested in getting access to the Humblewood campaign setting, complete with adventure, with races, all kinds of really great stuff to add to your game, highly recommend you checking this out. It did amazing on Kickstarter, which shows that a large number of people out there really want this book. So if you want to get your own copy, highly recommend you checking out the Deck of Many and their Humblewood campaign setting. Link is going to be down in the description.
Even Matt Mercer on Critical Role Live mentioned the Kickstarter and his support for this campaign setting. It looks great. Our friend Crystal Sully has done some of the art in there. It's an amazing product. The Deck of Money have done a great job. Like Ted said, they did excellent on Kickstarter, over $1 million raised. So head over to the deckofmoney.com website, link in the description, and go show them some love.
So next up, we're going to dive into the defensive category, and for this one, Death Ward. And I really don't think there's anything better for a defensive cleric spell than this one. Level 4, touch, duration of 8 hours, no concentration, there's no attack or save, casting time 1 action, verbal somatic, abjuration, and it's a buff in its own right. You touch a creature and grant it a measure of protection from death. The first time the target would drop to 0 hit points as a result of taking damage, the target instead drops to 1 hit point and the spell ends. If the spell is still in effect when the target is subject to an effect that would kill it instantly without dealing damage, the effect is instead negated against the target and the spell ends. So multiple things just are significantly deadly to characters in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. And this one is like, nope.
Not with Death Ward on and stuff. I mean, in our own games, when we have a caster that can cast 4th level spells that takes Death Ward, it's always like, okay, I have no 4th level spells anymore because they've just Death Warded everyone. You know, a spell that doesn't require concentration lasts 8 hours and, you know, gives everyone the half-orc ability of, I go down, I get right back up, or disintegrate, I think not, or, you know, power word kill, no way. You know, so it is a powerful, powerful form of magic that is super helpful in defending the life of your characters. So next up, we're going to go with our Cleric iconic spell. And for this was a no-brainer, right? It's a 5th level spell. It's raised dead. I mean, throughout all the editions of D&D, having a cleric being able to bring people back from the dead has been their shtick, has been their thing outside of healing since the beginning. So we had to go with this spell. Casting time, 1 hour. Range is touch. Duration instantaneous. School of Necromancy. You return a dead creature you touch to life, provided it has been dead no longer than 10 days. If the creature's soul is both willing and at liberty to rejoin the body, the creature returns to life with 1 hit point. This spell also neutralizes any poisons and cures non-magical diseases that affected the creature at the time it died. This spell doesn't, however, remove magical diseases, curses, or similar effects if these aren't first removed prior to casting the spell. They take effect when the creature returns to life. The spell can't return an undead creature to life. This spell closes all mortal wounds, but it doesn't restore missing body parts. If the creature is lacking a body part or organs that are integral for survival, its head, for instance, the spell automatically fails. Coming back from the dead is an ordeal. The target takes a -4 penalty to all attack rolls, saving throws, and ability checks every time the target finishes a long rest. The penalty is reduced by 1 until it disappears, and you need a diamond worth at least 500 gold pieces, which is consumed by the spell. So you're out of commission for a few days, but on the bright side, you're not dead anymore.
It is a great spell. You know, in earlier editions, this was the first time that you could really begin bringing people back from the dead. 5th edition really made it super helpful by adding in Revivify, but I still think that Raise Dead is definitely the iconic because it's been in the editions since the beginning.
Absolutely. So what do we got up for utility spells, Ted?
So for utility, I'm going to look at Dispel Magic. So many options. You get it at 3rd level, so you know, 5th level you're beginning to cast it. You can do it out of a range of 120 feet. It's instantaneous. There's no attack or saving throw. Casting time is 1 action, verbal somatic, abjuration, and it's a control effect. Choose 1 creature, object, or magical effect within range. Any spell of 3rd level or lower on that target ends. For each spell of 4th level or higher on the target, make an ability check using your spellcasting ability. The DC is equal to 10 plus the spell's level. On a successful check, the spell ends. At higher levels, when you cast the spell using a spell slot of 4th or higher, you automatically end the effects of a spell on the target if the spell's level is equal to or less than the spell slot you used. Dispel Magic has so many uses, it's crazy. There could be spell hazards in an adventure that you need to overcome. You could end an effect on a party member, like you've been charmed, or they've been charmed. You could dispel a buff that is on an enemy spellcaster. Suppose, they keep casting, spells that are increasing its armor class or regeneration. It's like, no, I'm going to make that go away. And it's like, oh, you've robbed them of their entire action by taking away that ability and all the cool stuff that goes along with it. It is, super, super helpful in so many different scenarios. Now, we did have another option that we were going to put into here, but when we did Tier 2 for Bard, we talked about how awesome Speak with Dead was and all the great ways that you can do that. So this was basically, it was a runner-up, between the two, or a tie between the two. So we decided we'll talk about how great Dispel Magic is here, but definitely give a thumbs up to Speak with Dead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, overcoming traps, hazards, puzzles, that's really cool. And I feel like there's a lot of creative ways to use Dispel Magic in the game that aren't implicitly stated in the spell description, that a lot of times GMs will be like, yeah, you can try that, or have it have an effect. So for that reason, I think it's a great choice. Like you said, Speak with Dead was the runner-up. And in addition to Speak with Dead, Tongues was also another really good one. Clerics get a lot of utility spells. Finally, we have our bonus
Overlook.
choice. Yeah, our bonus choice, the Overlook spell. And this is one I have not seen get a lot of love, but as we're looking through the spells, I'm like, yeah, this one could be a lot of fun, and it's got some utility to it as well. Holy Weapon, 5th level spell, bonus action to cast. It's touch, lasts an hour, does require concentration. You imbue a weapon you touch with holy power. Until the spell ends, the weapon emits bright light in a 30-foot radius, dim light an additional 30 foot. So we're going to get a bunch of light out of it. In addition, weapon attacks made with this deal an extra 2d8 radiant damage on a hit. If the weapon isn't already a magic weapon, it becomes one for the duration. Nice. As a bonus action, on your turn, you can dismiss the spell, causing the weapon to emit a burst of radiance. Each creature of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes 4d8 radiant damage, and it is blinded for 1 minute. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't blinded. At the end of its turn, a blinded creature can make a Constitution saving throw, ending the effect it's on itself if it's successful. That was the clincher for me. The fact that, alright, so either you make a magic weapon that does extra damage to hit things with, or you make one for one of your party members to use, then at some point within that hour, when you're like, you know what, the paladin that I gave this to is now standing in middle of all the enemies, I think I'm going to nuke them. And you detonate the spell ends, but you do a lot of damage to a lot of creatures all at once, and they might be blinded. For that reason, I think this is a great spell. And next time I'm making a cleric and I'm playing at that higher level, I will definitely be looking for Holy Weapon.
Yeah, it's a solid spell, and the fact that it lasts an hour, it's concentration, which that's harsh for clerics because there's so many awesome spells that fall into that concentration pool. But it can last for multiple combats, because like I said, hour. But okay, you're getting close to that duration. All right, fine. As Dave says, run in, and we're just gonna blow it up. So you can hold for just that moment of get in there and boom.
Nuke all the undead. So for that reason, I thought it was great. So the question is, what spells are you going with for your cleric at Tier 2? A great place to discuss it down in the comments. Before we head out, let me take a moment to invite you to join Nerdarchy the Adventuring Party over on Patreon. What can they expect over there, Ted?
So we're creating products for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons that both players and DMs alike can drop right into their game.
But that's not all. We do monthly giveaways, and patrons are automatically entered.
We do weekly hangouts with our patrons and more.
So quest on down to the description. Join Nerdarchy the Adventuring Party. Until next time,
stay nerdy.